Episode 2, The Stranger with the Sketchbook. Thursday arrived dressed in fog. Margaret woke at 5:30, the same as always, but found herself standing in her closet longer than usual. The lavender cardigan felt too old. The blue one too deliberate. She settled on grey safe, neutral, forgettable. At the cafe, she arrived 15 minutes early and hated herself for it. But when Daniel walked in at 9:17, his smile made the waiting worthwhile. "I hoped you'd be here," he said. And Margaret's heart did something it hadn't done in decades. It stumbled. This time he brought his sketchbook. Over coffee and those cinnamon rolls she'd recommended, he showed her his work. Not the polished illustrations for the book contract, but the real drawings, the ones he made for himself. There were sketches of Millbrook, the pharmacy with its dying neon sign, the bookshop with Mrs. Chen sweeping, the Methodist church with its crooked steeple, but also faces strangers on park benches, children feeding ducks at Miller's Pond, an old man reading a newspaper. "You see people," Margaret said quietly, touching the edge of a drawing with one careful finger. "I try to," Daniel replied. "Most of us walk around invisible, don't we? I want to prove they were here, that they mattered." Margaret felt something crack open in her chest. "May I?" he asked, already opening to a fresh page, pulling out a pencil worn down to half its length. She started to protest, but he was already sketching. His eyes moved between her face and the paper with quick, assessing glances. Margaret sat frozen, unsure where to look, what to do with her hands. "Relax," he said gently. "Just be yourself. Talk to me." So she did. She told him about teaching third grade for 37 years. About her children Thomas, now 50 and living in Portland with his busy, distant life. And Sarah, who would have been 48, who had died of leukemia at 16. About her husband Robert, who'd been a good man, a steady man, but who'd never really seen her, not the way Daniel was seeing her now, with those lake-water eyes that seemed to look past skin and bone, straight into the complicated territory of her soul. When Daniel turned the sketchbook around, Margaret gasped. The woman in the drawing wasn't old. Not young either, but ageless, her eyes bright with intelligence, her mouth curved in a secret, almost smile. She looked like someone with stories to tell, mysteries to keep. She looked interesting. "That's not me," Margaret whispered. "It's exactly you," Daniel said. "It's who you are when you forget to hide." Margaret's hands trembled as she held the drawing. In 73 years, no one had shown her this version of herself. They stayed until noon. The cafe owner, Peggy Martinez, kept refilling their cups with knowing looks that made Margaret's cheeks warm. They talked about books Daniel loved, magical realism, stories where reality bent at the edges. Margaret confessed she'd only ever read classics, approved titles, safe stories with proper endings. "Life isn't safe," Daniel said, not unkindly. "Why should stories be?" Before he left, he tore the drawing from his sketchbook and handed it to her. "For you," he said, "so you can remember what I see." That afternoon, Margaret did something she hadn't done in 7 years. She went to Lawson's Art Supply on 5th Street and bought a journal, real paper, bound in soft leather, the kind meant for important thoughts. At home, she sat at her kitchen table and wrote, "Today someone saw me. Actually saw me. And for the first time since Robert died. No. Longer than that, I felt like maybe I'm not just waiting anymore. Maybe I'm still alive." She pressed the drawing between the journal's pages like a pressed flower, evidence of something blooming. Outside her window, the October afternoon faded into evening. The streetlights flickered on. And Margaret Hayes, retired schoolteacher, widow, mother of ghosts, sat in her kitchen and let herself feel something she'd sworn she'd never feel again. Possibility.